To make our berry cobbler, we're going to start with a baking dish and some butter or cooking spray. We have frozen strawberries and frozen blueberries, some vanilla, a lemon, flour and sugar, baking powder and salt. We're going to use 3 cups of the blueberries, and we will also use 3 cups of the strawberries, totaling 6 cups. We're going to need the zest off of this lemon. I'll use my microplane. And we will just gently remove some of the outer skin, being careful not to push down too hard. We don't want the white pith, it's more of bitter. We need 1 tablespoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. ¼ cup of granulated sugar. And 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Mix these ingredients well and then set aside. We'll use the butter to grease the bottom and sides of our baking dish, but you can also use a cooking spray if you want. Now we're going to add the berry mixture to the bottom of the baking dish. Spread them out as evenly as you can on the bottom of the dish. Now let's make the crumble topping. We're going to start with 3/4 cup of an all-purpose flour. I use organic whenever I can. 2/3 cup of granulated sugar. Also, if you can use organic, it helps. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Looks like I need to replace my vanilla. It's getting low. We need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. This is a homemade vanilla. And 6 tablespoons of room temperature butter. Mix it well. It's going to come together very similar to like a cookie dough. I'm going to finish mixing with my hands just to make sure that that butter is well incorporated. Now we're just going to take handfuls and sprinkle it across the top, trying to get it as even as possible. Now into the oven. I've preheated the oven to 350. I used frozen berries in this recipe, so it's going to take 45 to 50 minutes. If your berries are fresh, it's about 30 minutes. I did end up turning the broiler on for about 2 minutes just to get it to finish browning on the top. It should look like this when it's finished, nice and bubbling. Now let's work on our creamy chicken broccoli casserole. We'll need a skillet of some sort and another baking dish. I'm using 1 package of thin sliced chicken breasts, some broccoli florets, these are frozen. These are crackers that are very similar to Ritz crackers, but they're non-GMO. Milk, 1 package of cream cheese and Parmesan cheese. Garlic powder, and salt and pepper to taste. I'm going to use some more butter to grease the bottom and the sides of this casserole dish. And I will set it aside as we finish the fillings. For the sauce, we're going to start by grating some Parmesan cheese. We're going to need 3/4 of a cup of the Parmesan cheese. We're going to add it to a saucepan. And now we're going to add our package of cream cheese. We'll be using the whole package. We're going to add 2 cups of milk. I'm using a 2% milk. You could also use a 1% or a skim. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of a garlic powder. I'm going to add pepper to taste. And a small amount of salt because the Parmesan cheese and the cream cheese have a lot of salt in them. Now let's put this on the stove. Now we'll take our package of thin cut chicken breasts and we're going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. I'll be using these non-GMO crackers. They're very similar in size and taste to like a Ritz cracker. I'm going to be using approximately half of the package. If you're going to use a Ritz cracker, it calls for 1 sleeve. Now here I'm using a heavy glass to crush the crackers. Some people put them in a plastic bag and use a rolling pin, but I've been finding information on microplastics that it's not good for us to have that in our digestion, and by something sharp being rolled in a plastic bag, it could enter into your food. You want to crush them till they're about the size of like breadcrumbs. Our sauce is coming along nicely. It's melting well. Just keep it on low. And now we're going to go ahead and start the chicken. Now instead of an oil like an olive oil, I'm going to be trying for a while a product called ghee. It's a clarified butter that can be used for sautéing. We'll sauté them on about a medium heat. Sauté them until they're just tender, not overcooked, because they will go in the oven for further cooking, but just so that they're not pink. Now we'll take our buttered dish that we buttered earlier, and we're going to add the chicken. Now go ahead and add your broccoli, and just spread it out evenly. Now we're going to pour our sauce over the top. Now here I'm just kind of poking the broccoli down in so that it's underneath the liquid, and then we're going to just sprinkle on our crushed crackers. Here I've grated about a half a cup of Parmesan, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around on the top. Now into the oven. I've preheated the oven to 350. I'm going to set the timer between 25 and 30 minutes. Let's take 1 pint of whipping cream, and we're going to make this for our berry cobbler. We'll add a splash of vanilla, approximately a teaspoon, a very tiny pinch of salt, a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, Today's Bible verse is Hebrews chapter 11, verses 1 through 3. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good testimony. By faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that the things which are seen were not made of things which are visible. Thank you for watching Seasoned Living with Rosemary.